we're doing well. Hopefully we're feeling positive after that performance and result last night at St James's Park. I certainly am. I woke up feeling happy. Really pleased what I saw last night. Really happy with the point, and I'm really looking forward to the Chelsea game next weekend. Bring it on. But today I want to discuss Lucas Paquetá. Not because he had his best performance in a West Ham shirt last night. I was going to be making this video anyway, regardless of what happened last night, because it's off the back of comments from David Moyes at the end of last week. And it's quite concerning. Now, not in regards to Paqueta himself, because I think that's already been rectified by David Moyes. But looking forward, looking at the summer transfer window coming up, I'm quite worried, going by what David Moyes has said. But essentially, he spoke about when Paqueta first arrived at West Ham, we played him as a number 10, he was wanting to see 10 goals, he was wanting to see a little bit of Brazilian from Paqueta, and the link between midfield and attack, and he wasn't really doing it, and it wasn't really working, so we've had to move his position. Now that's really worrying, because that wasn't his role at Lyon. That's not where we bought him from. That's not what we bought him in as. We, as fans, have wanted to see him in this deeper role for quite a while. It's been the general consensus when reading the comments of the subscribers on videos and whatnot. But he got continued to be played in this, what I would call a Jesse Lingard position. Probably hoping that he was going to do something like Jesse Lingard, but it was unrealistic. We've seen him at AC Milan get shoehorned into an attacking position and he didn't perform there. So why would he perform at West Ham? We're not too sure. But anyway, it's been rectified now. In fairness to David Moyes, it has been sorted. But for the first half of the season, it was a problem because he wasn't performing in that number 10 role. Souček and Rice as a partnership was still failing to perform because, well, we know why. I say Declan Rice's new role. It's not new. He's been playing like that for 18 months. And that wasn't working between Souček and Rice. So as a trio, that little triangle in the middle of the pitch for West Ham, it wasn't effective. We weren't getting the best out of Souček. We weren't getting the best out of Paqueta. And I don't think we were getting the best out of Declan Rice either. We had three players, all three really good players as well, all underperforming. And a large part of that, in my opinion, was down to the tactics that they were being given and the positions they were being played in as well. But the World Cup came along. And there was this sort of hope that something would get sorted at West Ham, that Moyes would use that 6 weeks to go away and come up with something new that was going to transform the second half of the season. And I think he's done it. And it's simple. He's gone and watched Brazil. Now, there is also a second part to this. Leif Agerd has returned, okay? There is that as well. Agerd is back and is unbelievable as a centre-back. He's going to transform that defence. He's a Rolls Royce of a centre-back. Couldn't be more impressed by Agerd than I have been. So there is that as well. So there is two things happening here at once. So it's not just the Paqueta. Our upturn in form post-World Cup can't be just down to the new position of Paqueta. Agerd coming into the team is just as important, arguably more important. But what he did do, David Moyes, is go watch Brazil. And thank God, because I hoped he would. I did the videos on it during the World Cup saying I pray David Moyes is in Qatar to go and watch how to get the best out of Lucas Paqueta, because we saw him play for Brazil, and while Brazil had an underwhelming tournament, Paqueta didn't. Paqueta played well for them, and David Moyes spoke about it last week. He spoke about how Paqueta played next to Casemiro, and actually Neymar was a number 10 for Brazil, so we at West Ham have tried to implement Paqueta in his Brazil position, playing next to Declan Rice, and it's working. And David Moyes sounds happy with what he's seen. Last night I thought it was Paqueta's best game in a West Ham shirt, and it was really pleasing to hear David Moyes praising him and Declan Rice after the game. He was always going to. They performed really, really well. Declan was immense. I thought Paqueta was really good. Came off with 15 minutes to go. I understand why. He was shattered. But I've got no problem with a centre midfielder having to go off because he's knackered in a Premier League game up against a physical side like Newcastle. It does not bother me at all. I thought Paqueta gave everything on that pitch. Sure, there's still some teething problems there. He does dawdle on the ball a little bit too much. Takes an extra couple of seconds when he doesn't have them and he's got caught out. All you have to do is go look at Newcastle's first goal. But generally, I think he's getting a lot better. I think he's really starting to adapt to the Premier League more. That whole dawdling on the ball, it's got a lot less. It's a lot less than when it first arrived. When we played away at Everton, and remember him taking 5 touches and getting crowded out by 2 or 3 Everton players, and it was just tough to watch. Not happening anymore. Now and again getting caught out, but at the same time, we're still seeing that flashes of brilliance. The touches out the sky, the little flicks and the tricks he's doing, his passes, how comfortable and composed he is. And he got his goal last night as well, which is brilliant to see, get his account open. But David Moyes during the World Cup identified the issue with Lucas Paqueta. Went to the Qatar, watched Brazil and decided that's how I'm going to play him at West Ham. He's come back, and I do genuinely believe we've turned Paqueta in from a problem into an asset. I was worried, and it wasn't just me, that going into the World Cup that we had this problem with Paqueta as to it's hard not to think about the likes of Nikola Vlasic, because there's always been this suspicion that David Moyes didn't buy Paqueta. Paqueta is not a David Moyes signing. Agard, that's a David Moyes signing. There's a lot of evidence before we signed Agard and when we signed Agard. Agard's spoken about how he spoke to David Moyes numerous times over the season. You go back 12 months before we signed Agard, we were linked to him very strongly. It was him or Kurt Zouma. We obviously opted for Kurt Zouma, but we were strongly linked to Agard as well. There's a lot of evidence to suggest it. Agard, the first major signing of the summer for West Ham, and as soon as it happened, we got told that's our marquee signing. Now, like I said at the time, I dispute what marquee means. Does that mean you're most expensive or you're most important? And if it means the latter, I would suggest it's looking likely that that was our marquee signing. He was our most important signing. Sure, we spent more money on Scamacca, we spent more money on Paqueta, but Agard's the one that today, if I said to you, which one is going to be our best signing of the season, you're going to say Agard. I agree. I understand why. David Moyes signing, definitely. In regards to the others, whether it be Emerson, because we went to Chelsea to get Amanda Broya and came back with Emerson, whether it be Paqueta, whether it be Scamacca, whether it be Maxwell Cornet, there's always been worries that it's not David Moyes' signings, and we've seen what happens when David Moyes doesn't necessarily authorise the signing of this player or that player. To pick out one example, I'm not going to go into them all, Nikola Vlasic. Last season, brought him in, 25 million, and he just didn't play. He didn't really get a fair crack at the whip either. But that was somebody we felt Moyes didn't necessarily want at West Ham. Moyes didn't use him, and we've had to loan him out this season, and he looks like he'll join Torino in the summer for 12 million. That is the worst thing that can happen. And there was a worry that Paqueta was going to head down that road. Not as dramatic, because unlike Vlasic, Paqueta was getting game time. Moyes was putting up with Paqueta not playing as well as he could have done. Moyes was being very, very patient with him. He put him in that number 10 role, and he kept playing him in that number 10 role. Paqueta was fit. He played essentially. So Moyes was determined to get Paqueta to work at West Ham. He was just doing it in the wrong position, in my opinion. In that number 10 role, it wasn't going to work. It wasn't working. But like I said, the worry was still there. I read it in the comments from the subscribers on the videos about how Paqueta's going to be another Sebastian Haller, Scamacca's going to be another Haller, which is Moyes doesn't know how to use him, Moyes doesn't want to use him, and he ends up leaving the next available opportunity, whether it's a January transfer window or the summer one, he will end up leaving. And I think that worry's gone now about Paqueta, because that World Cup, and I'm just pleased there was a World Cup break here. If there wasn't a World Cup break, what would have happened? We don't know. It's all hypothetical. Would he still be getting shoehorned in that Jesse Lingard role, or would Moyes have put him into the midfield anyway? We don't know. Some people will say the first one, some will say the second. The truth is, it's hypothetical. We don't know. It's all about opinions. My opinion, I think we'd still be seeing the first one, which is Souček and Rice with Paqueta ahead of. I still think we would see that. But I don't have an issue to some extent with David Moyes going to the World Cup and discovering how best to use Paqueta and coming back and implementing it at West Ham. I don't have an issue with that as such. But it's the fact that he had to do that I've got to worry with. And while I partly blame David Moyes for it, I also partly blame just West Ham in general. The planning, the lack of planning here is incredibly worrying. The fact that we gave David Moyes as someone that we spent a deal worth 50 million on, so there's your player, make him work, and Moyes didn't really know how. Now, yes, Moyes should have gone away and said, right, okay, I'm going to work out how to use Lucas Paqueta. But we've always had this ideal outlook on how a transfer strategy should work, a recruitment team should work, and it's never this perfect, but ideal is the manager says, I need this type of player, I need this position in my team, and those in charge, those responsible, so Rob Newman in this instance would go away with his recruitment team and find somebody that the manager wants. Somebody that he can bring in and say, there you go, Dave, you asked for this type of player, there's that type of player. So if David Moyes has been wanting a number 10, if David Moyes has wanted somebody to play the Jesse Lingard role and got given Lucas Paqueta, I can understand why David Moyes has said, okay, I'll put him in that number 10 role then. But it's not his position. But there's something gone wrong somewhere in regards to this transfer. Now, like I said, it's been rectified now. I no longer consider Paqueta a problem. Last night was brilliant from what I've seen. I'm really looking forward to seeing him again next week against Chelsea, the following week against Spurs. Because Moyes now knows how to get the best out of him, which is next to Declan Rice. And what I will say, it only works next to Declan Rice. Maybe next to Flynn Downs as well, but I wouldn't want to see Paqueta next to Thomas Souček. Thomas Souček works better against a defensive midfielder. We know that. He works better against Derby. I'm aware he was only League One, but Souček was brilliant, in my opinion, because he was next to Flynn Downs, a defensive midfielder. And Declan Rice has had to almost go back to his old role here, which is a defensive-minded centre midfielder. And I think he was absolutely immense last night, Declan Rice. That was an incredible performance, possibly his best one this season, as well as Paqueta's and as well as Agard. I think we've seen a few players having their best performance in the West Ham shirt. Emerson as well. Soufal's best performance for I don't know, a season maybe? Not the first season when he was racking up all those assists, but since then, last season and this season, I think that was up there with Soufal's best one as well. We've seen some really big performances last night. But Paqueta needs Declan Rice. I wouldn't want to see Paqueta in there without Declan, because he did the job of two men at times. In the second half especially, Paqueta tired before he got substituted. I thought for 5-10 minutes Paqueta was really leggy out there, taking a little bit longer to get back. He was walking back at times, and I understand why. He's given everything, but it exposed Declan Rice. But I thought Declan handled it really, really well. Just blocked up that space, made it difficult for the likes of Willock to take advantage of. But he was immense, and that partnership, I'm really enjoying that, because they trust each other as well. The passing between the two of them, just the quick 1-2s and whatever, it's brilliant to watch. I'm really, really happy with it. And I've lost my train of thought now what I was talking about. But I was talking about Paqueta and the signings and stuff. It's very worrying that Moyes had to go to the World Cup. If we didn't have the World Cup, would we be seeing this Paqueta? Like I said, I'm not sure. I think we'd still have a little bit of an issue there. But what's worrying is nobody's told David Moyes how to use Lucas Paqueta. Whoever's recruited Paqueta hasn't said to Moyes, there you go, this is how you play him and whatever. And this needs rectified for the summer big time, because I do feel like we've got off with it a little bit to some extent, this potential issue that we had with Lucas Paqueta. Maybe I'm overthinking it too much, but I can't help but feel it's not a coincidence that the first half of the season he was playing a number 10 role and struggling. Since the World Cup, he's gone into midfield next to Declan Rice, performing much better. I don't believe in coincidences too much, but they do occur. But when there's far too much evidence, when there's more than one coincidence or two coincidences, I'm starting to think there's something there, right? And I think we're in that situation with Paqueta. And David Moyes' comments suggest that as well. We brought him in as a number 10. We're now playing him deeper in centre midfield, so on and so forth. So Moyes is basically saying, I didn't really know how to play him, but now I do, because I've gone and watched Brazil. So that World Cup period, there was a little bit of a worry, especially after the Arsenal defeat, and then I thought it was much improved against Brentford, but we still lost the game. But there was a worry, which is we haven't really taken advantage of this situation. I think part of the problem is a lot of us, not everybody, but a lot of us was hoping the manager would be replaced during the World Cup. So our hope during the World Cup would be that we'd have a new manager come in, a bit like what Aston Villa have done with Unai Emery, etc., etc., that we would do the same with David Moyes. He would be dismissed, somebody else would come in, and then we'd go again after the World Cup. But because that didn't happen, it was a case of, well, we're not going to utilise this 6-week period. We probably analysed it a little bit more than we should have done. And I'm guilty. I'm the first one that's guilty of that, okay? I'll put my hand up and say, yeah, I did that. I was looking at the Arsenal game going, come on then, Moyes, what have you got? What have you done in that 6 weeks? My answer was not very much. I know it was Arsenal, but I thought what we saw was very similar to what we saw pre-World Cup. And then since then, there's been a few good performances, but now, the last couple of games now, we've not had Souček in centre midfield, which is, helping Paqueta a lot, in my opinion. I think Paqueta's taken advantage of that space in there next to Declan Rice. Souček will have a big part to play between now and the end of the season, a huge part to play, just like Thilo Kehrer. Whether you like him or not doesn't really matter. We've only got 4 centre-backs and Kehrer being one of them, and we're playing with 3 of them. We need I was saying that, I do think Ben Johnson was very impressive when he came on yesterday, but Kenner's going to have a big part to play. Thomas Souček's going to have a big part to play. This is a squad game. Got European football next month. Hopefully between now and then we can get a few more points on the board, so when that European football does come round, we can take it serious again and we can, well, try and go on and win the thing. That's got to be the hope, that becomes our priority. But between now and then we need to pick up points. And the best way to do that is to get the best out of your best players. And one of our best players is Lucas Paquetá. And I have to say, the last few games, I think we're getting the best out of him. So fair play to David Moyes, because he's identified he had an issue with Paqueta pre-World Cup, gone away to the World Cup, discovered how to play Lucas Paquetá. He's come back and he's implemented it at West Ham. And Moyes said last week, I was hoping to see a little bit of Brazilian from Paqueta, and he was alluding to goals. He was alluding to 10 goals or something. He said about Felipe Anderson as well. I want to see a bit of Brazilian. We're starting to see, maybe not Brazilian from Paqueta, but I think we're starting to see Brazil's Paqueta. And it's a tremendous player. Last night, very happy with what I saw. That partnership, Declan Rice, very happy with what I saw. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Paqueta evolve and grow at West Ham and become more and more of an impact every single game now, because we've got a formation, we've got a position for Paqueta, we've got a role for Paqueta, which is next to Declan Rice doing that role that we saw last night. One or two other positions in places just need changed or adapted, or players to come in. It will do all right, I think. Last night, really, I've woke up today. I've said it last week. I keep flip-flopping. I will continue to flip-flop. Will West Ham get relegated? Some days I say yes, some days I say no. Last night and today, I'm saying, no, we won't. We'll be fine. Play like we did last night. We'll be fine. Paqueta, a large part of that. Anyway, I'm going to disappear. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do drop a like on it. Subscribe if you're new to Hammers Chat. I'll catch you tomorrow.